Madam Chair, you are all set and ready to go.
Thank you. All right, I see it there. Calling the meeting to order. It is 6:31 p.m. on Thursday, December 11th. We have Councilwoman Deb Poland, Barry Walters, Gail Harris, and John Lyons. We have our town manager, Rick Ledwith, and we have other town staff, Bob Palmer, John Phillips, and Catherine DeVinny. The first order of business, we have the approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent and distributed, correct?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Minutes approved. And we can move on to communications. Are there any communications to be presented?
Yes, just real briefly tonight, Madam Chair, thank you and good evening, everyone. Just wanted to take a moment to welcome our new chair, as well as our newly elected councilors joining us this evening, Councilor Lyons and Councilor Harris, as well as our Vice Chair, Councilor Poland and Councilor Walters. So our team is grateful for the leadership that you all will bring to this important work. John Phillips, our Director of Public Works, Bob Palmer, our Director of Plant Facility Services. We have Catherine DeVinny, who is our Energy Specialist, and Catherine Bruns you'll meet at a future meeting as well, who's our Recycling Coordinator. So we're all eager to continue the strong collaboration that has really defined this committee in the past. And each of our team members plays a critical role in delivering high quality services to our residents, maintaining and enhancing our infrastructure, and continuing to advance our sustainability goals. So we look forward to partnering closely with this committee as we move forward. And with that said, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back to you and we can go through our staff reports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. Moving to staff reports, we have facilities update. The chair recognizes Robert Palmer, Director of Plant and Facility Services. You're on mute.
Thank you so much. Bob Palmer, Director of Plant and Facility Services. So I typically give a brief overview of what we've been up to every month, and I'll run through that right now. Daily operations. So we transitioned into the heating season. Obviously, it's been a little bit colder than usual. Been very fortunate. Our buildings have performed very well, even with, we get a little nervous when the temperatures go down at night to single digits. So we take extra precautions and monitoring the buildings and adjusting temperatures and that type of thing, and make sure that we don't freeze buildings or areas that we know that are susceptible to freezing. So our staffs on both the town and the school side did a great job in getting us through those cold weather so far this year, but I'm sure we'll have more. But it was a little bit earlier than usual, but we adjusted very well. I do have one part-time custodian and a full-time building maintenance crew leader position right now, and I'm currently working with Human Resources on working to refill those positions. So moving on to other subjects, the new Elmwood Community Center. There's a team of us that are working on that from the town. We have been going on for about a year now. We have an architect on board, and we have several other professionals on board helping us with what we call pre-construction, which is the design of the building and also assessing the site and getting ready eventually to build the new Elmwood Community Center, which will go on the site of 100 Mayflower, which is the former St. Bridget School. So the former St. Bridget School still stands there today. It's a very limited use of the building. We are in the process of getting to demolish that building. Bids have actually been received, and we're currently reviewing those. So we're hoping in the next few months that we're going to be able to go in and demolish that building and make way for the new Elmwood Community Center. In the meantime, over the last couple of years, the police and emergency management have been using that building for training purposes. It's also been serving as the site of the temporary dog park on the back side of that land. So as I mentioned, demolition is in. We're working to select a contractor at this point. For the architectural design process of the new Elmwood Community Center, we've moved into the third phase of design, which is construction documents. So we do architectural process is schematic, and then we move into some design documents, and we've gone through those two processes, and we're currently moving into construction documents, which will get us towards the bidding of the project in the next year or so. So this is a very large project. It's an 80,000 square foot plus building. So it's obviously very complicated. We're working very hard to make sure that it's state of the art and that it has good sustainability features in it, and that it serves the departments that are going to be in that building, which will be primarily leisure services, the Faxon Library, and some other auxiliary the town departments, but those will be the two major occupants of that building. So, and other capital projects, ever since COVID, we still continue to see certain supply chain issues and labor shortages in the construction sector. We're still seeing some very long lead times on some items, some of the bigger items, such as electrical switchgear, HVAC equipment, and those costs are also higher. The tariffs have created a very unstable bidding environment. So we've seen some real spikes in prices, but hopefully things have seemed to settle down a little bit, I'm hoping, and so we'll see some stability as we go towards the next bidding season in the late winter, early spring for typically our summer projects. So projects that we're currently working on on the town side, the animal control facility that's currently located down on Brixton Street. We're building a new animal control facility right next door to it. Construction on that started late this summer, early fall. At this point, the foundation work has been completed, and we're currently working on underground utilities before we pour the slab for that building. So that's moving along nicely. Right next door, on the corner of Brixton and Oakwood, is the fueling station. We bought a lot of the land 4 or 5 years ago at this point. The former Cunningham Supply. We're out to bid right now to demolish that existing building. Most of that existing building, we're going to say part of it and reuse it. We're also going to put a fueling station there. That's John Phillips, I'm sure will mention that in his report. It's a big need for DPW and other town departments. We currently fill up at commercial stations townwide. So another project that's in place down on Brixton Street is the fire training tower. The former tower was demolished due to safety concerns, and the site was cleared and prepped for a new building. Right now, we're in the design process for a new tower. We've completed a public safety facilities assessment. I have the fire and police departments are still combing through it. It's a very long report. We hope to, in the next month or two, be able to come and talk about that more in depth with various council committees. So we're also working on a project for townwide generators. Very few of our buildings have generators on them. We have some of the critical infrastructure, public safety, fire stations, our data center, the current Elmwood Community Center and Charter Oak are really the only buildings that have permanent generators on them. And so what we've been hoping to do is to expand our capabilities in that area. So we do have the one fire station that does not have a generator is Fire Station 1. We do have a FEMA grant in process for that, so we're just waiting on hearing back from them. It looks like it's going to be approved shortly. We're also looking at exploring the idea of a large mobile generator trailer to help power up our major buildings. Right now, we have 3 buildings that are generator ready. That's Town Hall, Hall High School, and Conard High School. So the idea here is that we would have one portable generator that we could mobilize to whatever site we needed it to be at, rather than investing large dollars into large generators for each site. The problem with generators is they really just sit there and rust over time. So they get exercised and they're maintained, but it's expensive to do that. So we're really looking at this mobile generator as a good idea to help us navigate some of this. And we're also exploring a FEMA grant with that. So we have a current project that's in process right now for various miscellaneous improvements at 3 fire stations. It's Fire Station 2, which is Brace Road, Fire Station 4, which is Albany Avenue, and Fire Station 5, which is Berkshire Road over by Conard. These are mostly living quarter improvements, including kitchen improvements, improvement of the bunk areas in the fire stations. We've awarded for the construction. It has gone through the bid process, so we're awarded. We're beginning commencing soon. We're just finishing up with building permit reviews right now. 2 of the 3 have their building permits approved, so we'll be starting those very shortly. So Rockledge Driving Range, we're assisting Leisure Services with that project. Been a lot of challenges with that project, and so I'm sure some of you know. So we are getting close to finishing that up at this point. So the building is up. We're doing interior work at this point, getting the final pieces of it put together, but it is coming together nicely, but not in time for this golf season, I don't think, Rick. So another project that we're assisting Leisure Services with is Eisenhower Pool. This is the bathhouse was renovated this summer before last. The pool is currently being was demolished. The old pool was demolished at this point, and right now we're in the process of framing the forms for the concrete for the new pool, which is in process. And they can work on that through most of the winter, unless it gets very cold for multiple days. Single digits, multiple nights over would slow it down. But at this point, we're continuing with that work. And that will go hopefully through the winter, but we'll continue to work on that. So as part of my responsibilities, I also oversee the Board of Ed capital projects. I oversee the maintenance on the Board of Ed as well, but the daily operations, but I also oversee the capital, which is a function of the town council. So the school buildings are owned by the town, and the capital improvements are also administered through the town and through the capital improvement program. So that's why we talk about the school projects in this meeting. So some of the bigger projects that we are working on one is the fresh air ventilation at Duffy and Webster Hill. This is a big, very large project for us, multiple years, at least 15 years. There's 7 schools that have inadequate fresh air ventilation systems in the elementary, 7 of the 11 elementaries. So the first one is Duffy. We completed that, and that was a 2-year project. So we're in full mode, full fresh air now, and also we have air conditioning in that building for the first time building wide. We're still tweaking some of the controls and working our way through it, but it seems to be working pretty well at this point. So the next one will be Webster Hill. We have completed the design process, but we have to go back and make some changes. There's some changes in the HVAC industry where they're moving to a different type of refrigerant. And really, we need to make that move at this point for that project. So we have to go back and just look at those documents again. So we're hoping to go out to bid on that late in the winter. And it probably will not happen this summer, but because of the long lead times for electrical and switchgear, will take up to about a year. So it'll be for the summer of 27, we'll start that. For both of these projects, we were fortunate to get a state grant for the fresh air systems. So we're very excited about that. King Philip, we've been working on auditorium seating refurbishment for about a year now. We're on the very last section of that finally. So 700 seats refurbished. Looks very nice. So on the Board of Ed side, we always do roof projects every summer. So for the next 2 summers, we have Brayburn queued up for the summer of 26, and we also have Whiting Lane queued up for the summer of 27. And those typically receive state grants, so there's a process there. You'll see me come to town council asking for resolutions to support the state school construction grant process. So we are also doing work in the kitchen serving lines. We did Hall last year. This summer, we'll be doing Conard's serving line, and then the following summer, we'll do Sedgwick's serving line. We're going to be doing some restroom renovations at Aiken in the summer of 27, but that's currently in design. Woolkit main office relocation. This is a 2-year project that we started last summer. It'll be completed next summer. We're basically taking the office from the interior of the school and placing it on the exterior of the school and creating an entry system like we have done at all the other schools. We call a man trap, where visitors are are screened visually and are forced to come into the office. If you have ever been to Woolkit, you realize that you would be let in and the office was across the hallway, so there was no control of for people to be controlled to come to the office. So this was a change that we made for that. So we've done this similar at Bugby. We did the same kind of a similar project a few years ago as well. So King Philip front entrance reconfiguration. We did something very similar here in that we put the security. We took the vestibule into the main entrance, and we created a security entrance. It's not physically connected to the office because of fire code issues, but we do have a very good, strong system there now. So we did that this past summer. At King Philip, we also we replaced the gym floor, and we also replaced the divider wall on the larger of the two gyms in the building. So that was completed this past summer. So that's my report. I'm happy to take any questions from anybody if they have any.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions? Anyone have any questions?
Quick, I have a question if nobody else does.
I'm sorry.
Hi,
People talking. I heard Gail, or I saw Gail, so we can.
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Woman Gail.
Thank you.
Yep.
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, Mr. Palmer, do you have any sense or through those, well, my first question is how many bids do you have on the St. Bridget property?
You know, I don't know the specifics, so I don't know how many we received. So
Okay, and also is there a sense of what that entire project is going to cost?
the
Between
demolition.
Well, there's a demolition and then there's a building, right?
Yeah, so the demolition is estimated to be about $900,000, including the environmental abatement.
And what about the building part?
The building itself right now is sitting in the $60 to $70 million range. So,
And is that something that we have any grant money for, or is that going to be from taxpayer funds?
it's going to be from Rick will take that, I guess.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, to Councilor Harris. So right now, the construction of both the demolition of the former St. Bridget School and the construction of the new school, the new community center, is in the capital improvement plan. It's in year 3. So at this, for the upcoming budget, we would look to move that potentially into year 2, which is when it would start to essentially hit the budget. We're working very closely with our delegation to try to find other alternative sources for funding at least a good portion of the cost of the community center to minimize the impact that it would have on taxpayers. So we're still working through that. And more to follow, and certainly will be in front of the council with more of that information as we learn more, and hopefully get some success, earn some success in getting funds to, as I said, offset the overall cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
One quick one, Madam Chair. Comments?
Yep. Chair recognizes Councilor Lyons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Mr. Palmer, just clarifying the Rockledge, the build out of the driving range on Rockledge. We're kind of more or less between seasons right now. Do you anticipate this being done in time for the 2026 season?
Yes, definitely.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, we can move to the next staff report.
Councilor Walters has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Chair.
Councilor Walters.
That's okay. Through you, Madam Chair. I do have a couple quick questions. One, I was recently over at the fire department visiting with Chief Priest, and he had mentioned a project there. Is that something that is taking place? Because he had indicated that it was to happen soon, or not too far in the future.
Restroom expansion?
Restrooms, and I think a rearrangement of one of the offices there.
Yeah, it's in design right now, so we anticipate it being ready to go shortly. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the only other question, and you may not be able to answer this, but I am kind of curious, how much exactly are the tariffs costing us? Because that,
Yeah, it's a
you know,
very difficult question to answer. So,
yeah,
um, it definitely has it's causing contractors, I think, to overestimate on their costs because they have they at least doesn't seem as bad as recently, but the few months before this, um, they were really struggling with trying to provide us pricing that was they could hold to. So with unknowns of possible tariffs being implemented, so I think some hedged their bids a little bit and drove up the prices a little bit. So I think we did see some spiking because of that. So.
okay, thank you. And I think it's reasonably important that we can point out that it isn't only us shopping for whatever that are seeing for our Christmas our beef for dinner. It's not just that. It's also the supplies and building materials that are we're getting zapped on. So thank you for that.
You're certainly welcome.
Thank you. Any more questions? We'll do a scan. We don't see any. So let's move on to the sustainability report. Uh, the chair recognizes Catherine Deviney, Energy Specialist.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Catherine Deviney, Energy Specialist for the town of West Hartford and the Board of Ed. Catherine Bruns wanted to apologize. She couldn't be here tonight. She is actually talking to one of our PTOs about recycling as we speak. So rather than go into a lot of detail for this first meeting, where we have a lot of new faces on this committee, Catherine and I chose to kind of keep our summary very brief and just give you more of a sense of kind of what we do and what we're working on currently. So as I mentioned, both Catherine and I, we're actually part-time positions for the town, and we work both on the town side and the Board of Ed sides with the schools. We also serve as the staff liaisons to the Sustainable West Hartford Commission, which is a group of 11 residents, very passionate and meet regularly every month. So just to give you an introduction, I am the energy specialist, so I work a lot with the utility bills. The town gets over 300 utility bills a month. We recently changed platforms which we use to manage these systems, as our old vendor wasn't doing a very good job. And so we've transitioned to the new platform, and I'm currently working on dialing out the kinks in that system, making sure our bills are paid on time, and also working on the utility budget for the next fiscal year for the budget process. It actually looks like we're going to be fairly flat with last year, which is good news. Although we could see our use going up in the future. We've been doing a lot of work, as Bob mentioned, in the facilities area, looking at adding ventilation, mechanical ventilation, adding air conditioning, and so that adds energy use to our buildings, but hopefully at the same time we're offsetting that with some of new roofs which have new insulation. Some of our projects have energy efficiency components in them as well. So those things kind of offset each other. So our utility budget should be pretty flat. It's about $5 million, just to give you guys a round number. And that's about $3 million on the school side and $2 million on the town side. So I get involved in a lot of different capital projects, mainly to kind of promote and encourage energy efficient design. And I also manage a lot of the utility incentive process. So Gail asked about the budget for the new Elmwood. I'll just mention that in that project, there would be about $3 million in utility incentives and tax credits for doing energy efficient things like geothermal and other energy efficiency measures. So that's another thing I do. And then right now, just to give you the sense of something else I do, I work on renewable energy for the town. So right now I'm drafting an RFP for several more solar projects for the town. These would be done as power purchase agreements, so they're not at no cost to the town. We actually work with third parties who own and operate and install the systems, and we just buy the power off the systems more cheaply than or comparably priced to what we can buy from the utilities, but it's renewable energy. And oftentimes the solar on top of our buildings helps offset some of the demand of those buildings as well, the energy demand. So I'm working on that. We typically have a plan to add solar to our facilities, but as Bob mentioned, we do a lot of roofing projects. A lot of our roofs are old. It takes us several years to roof buildings, and so we follow our re-roofing plans with solar. Catherine, to give you a sense of what she does on the recycling end, she helps manage the town's food waste drop-off program that was recently started. She also manages all the cafeteria food waste diversion programs for the schools and does various education exercises with the students themselves, and even like tonight with the PTOs. She also does extensive ongoing public outreach through social media, events, and things like that to residents on recycling. And if you guys haven't joined her West Hartford Recycles Facebook page or Instagram, or the Sustainable West Hartford Facebook and Instagram, I encourage you to do so. I heard she's very excited that I think every new member of this committee, a lot of you have taken her up on her offer to go on the recycling tour that she's taking. She's taking a bunch of our Sustainable West Hartford commissioners and counselors on a tour of All American Waste in February. So that should be an exciting tour. And then jointly, Catherine and I are starting to, well, I said here develop on my summary, but it's really more revamp a concept that we call kind of a culture of conservation within the town and the Board of Ed. It was something, Bob, I don't know whether Bob started it way back in the day, but this is sort of a theme to promote awareness and education around not only resource conservation and energy conservation, but even just general efficiency, labor efficiency, and looking to optimize our resources and conserve within the town and the Board of Ed. So that's something we've been working on. Like I said, we are the staff liaisons to the Sustainable West Hartford Commission. So this is our opportunity to give you also a little insight into what they're working on and act as liaisons for them. So they are in the middle of preparing their report to town council, which they do every year. They gave their first one last year, though. They're a fairly new commission. And included in that report, they'll have a summary of what they did over the last year. And they also include a lot of planning and priority setting for the coming year. So they would like to target sometime in February, maybe, to present and have a discussion about those priorities with this committee. Dave Sagers, who's the chair of the Sustainable West Hartford Commission, I don't know whether he has already, but he's eager and planning to reach out to all of the members of this committee and introduce himself and have a good working relationship with you. And I just wanted to let you know also that that commission has 3 vacancies to fill for January 1st. And that includes losing a couple of our longtime, very active, well-respected members who they're still going to be highly involved in town affairs. They've just decided to rotate off the commission so that they can better develop their interests and also give some other residents an opportunity to be on that commission. And then finally, I was going to talk to you all a little bit about Sustainable Connecticut. It's a statewide voluntary certification program that you may have heard of that the town's involved in. We are certified at Sustainable Connecticut's highest level, which is gold. And I included a link there. If anyone wants to check out the program, you can access it directly. The town is going to be renewing at the gold level in August of 2027. And we just recently kicked off a process which is going to include a series of meetings over the next 18 months with representatives from all the different departments. This is a process I kind of shepherd, but it's a multi-department intensive exercise that does take about 18 months to pull together an application. And I'm happy to invite or include any of you if you would like to come to one of those meetings and hear more about all the different actions that we're going to document and earn points for that certification. That's all I have tonight. Happy to take any questions.
You're on mute, Lisa.
Thank you, Barry. Sorry. Any questions?
It's all right.
Thank you.
I have a question if the committee members don't have one. If they're all good.
Yeah, Gail has a question.
Okay.
Yep, and you're on mute, Gail, so I'll let you, and there you go. The chair recognizes Counselor Harris.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Ms. Devine, I'm just curious on a couple, I just have two questions. One is, what is most of the energy that we're using? And is it oil-based or is it gas-based or electric-based? Because I know some of our buildings are sort of on the older side.
Yes, they are. So all of our most of our buildings, with the exception of Westmore Park and the maintenance facilities at Rockledge, are natural gas. And Westmore, and it's just because there's no gas lines into Westmore Park. So we use very little oil for heating. So all of our buildings, including all of our schools, are natural gas heating. We have a couple of buildings. Charter Oak is geothermal and electric. And the project we did at Duffy did electrify that building somewhat. We still bring the boilers on, the natural gas boilers in cold winter days. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And just one follow-up. Does the state in any way fund, or are there any kind of grant money towards utility bills for, or let's say our schools, which I'm assuming is most of our energy costs?
There is no grant money for town utility bills. We do get tax exempt status, which is nice on our utility bills. But no, I mean, there are tools and programs to help you conserve energy behaviorally, as well as I mentioned before, utilities incentives that go, and we do, whenever we do a large capital project, or we're always looking for opportunities to do lighting retrofits. We're working on our last street lights right now that are not LED. So we're constantly looking for opportunities, anything that's left over where we could save energy, which goes right to the bottom line through the energy savings on the bill. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
The commission, you mentioned energy assistance programs. The commission, the Sustainable West Hartford Commission and the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission are actually partnering on an educational workshop on January 20th. It'll be tagged on to the end of the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission, a workshop for residents. We've invited Eversource to come speak on all things energy assistance, energy efficiency programs, and that kind of thing. So that will be promoted to residents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Barry, do you still have your question? The chair recognizes.
I do.
Counselor Walker.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Now, I was just curious, and I know I saw at least one face kind of go, wow. 300 utility bills. I mean, is that what I that's a lot. And so
Everyone.
how does that break down? I think it would be, and I'm not asking you to tell me every 300, every single of
Well,
one of those
yeah,
300. It seems like a lot.
yeah. We get about 150 electric bills from Eversource. Now, these are bills for Conard High School all the way down to bills for, the concession stand at Rockledge, firehouses, libraries. Sometimes when you have additions to like Hall High School, where you have portables and new additions, you have a stadium scoreboard or something, you might have 4 electric meters on one property. So we get about 150 electric bills. We get about 60 natural gas bills, and we get about nearly 100 water bills from MDC.
Wow. Thank you. That seems like a lot.
It is. That's actually after I went through when I first got here and consolidated a lot of the streetlight bills that we were getting and things like that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to make a comment, Madam Chair, about Sustainable Connecticut and how if folks aren't familiar with it, it's a great resource for folks who might be doing projects for their neighborhood or the town or anything in which, they've had a great history of helping match funds and getting grassroots projects off the ground. And I just wanted to share that real quick. I know that I've been involved in projects with it, and it's really cool, and it's a great thing to take advantage of and learn more about.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Walters. And any other questions for Catherine? Seeing none, we can move on to our Public Works update. The chair recognizes John Phillips, Director of Public Works.
Good evening. Through the chair, John Phillips, Director of Public Works. Thank you. Welcome to all the new counselors to the Public Works and Facilities Sustainability Committee. And obviously, thank you to Councilor Lazarus for your commitment to lead this committee. So overall, I'll start before I get into our monthly report, which hopefully you each all had an opportunity to review, or if it was uploaded. Overall, Public Works is in good health. We're in that transition part of doing minor to somewhat heavy construction and road maintenance throughout our, spring, summer, and fall seasons. And we're now transitioning to a primary focus of our winter readiness. While we still try to maintain things that we can do, we have to be very selective so that we can transition within a 3-day forecast. Our equipment and our staff to be prepared for winter and ice control operations. Overall, we are experiencing an unusual uptick in staffing vacancies. We have a fleet mechanic vacancy, which we're interviewing for tomorrow. So hopefully we can get that backfilled within the next 30 days. We are recruiting for a traffic signal technician. Both those positions are very market competitive. The recruitment process has proven to be extremely difficult to find the right candidate with the right qualifications and that willing heart to become a public works professional from their current trades or industries that they come from. We have 3 grounds maintainer positions that we are just getting underway in the recruitment process, and we have 1 street maintainer recruitment process just getting underway. So we're very early, but we hope to have all the positions backfilled and solidified either by the end of winter or the first part of spring. We are working on a couple larger projects, not directly with Public Works staff, but as Bob Palmer mentioned, we're working collaboratively with facilities and Bill Phibbs, the construction manager for the town, on our fuel station. Again, that's a long standing initiative for the town of Starford, not only for Public Works operations, but as well as for our emergency management capabilities. It will be situated on a property that the council supported the purchase of a few years back, and that's right directly across the street from our current facility. So we hope to design well, we are in the process of designing a facility that will be efficient and effective for both daily operations for all of our town fleet, including public works, police, fire, town staff, and meet the demands of public safety or emergency management if the need arises. We're working on designing a transfer station, really an upgrade from our current recycling center capabilities, which is a very niche, small operation. But there has been a long-term demand request from the community, as well as I like to call it being more resilient to the waste management landscape of the state of Connecticut. This what I'm coining as a material solution center for the town of West Hartford. We're currently at 30% design, and we're in discussion on the next process to get beyond 30% of that transfer station. We're also working on a large project of capping the town's landfill. It's a 1930s vintage landfill. The town purchased in 1931. It served the town for decades and decades of its trash as well as its ash when there was once an incinerator on the site. The incinerator was demolished in 2019 to open the site up. And then when we continued to look at the feasibility of developing the site, we realized that the landfill itself had never been officially closed or capped legally. And so we're working through that process to create an environmentally stable landform on top of the landfill, which will prove to be provide environmental stability for decades and decades to come. Basically, it should take away or eliminate any future risks of leaching contamination of the existing landfill into watercourses that do abut this property. We also have been working closely with Bob Palmer mentioned the Rockledge driving range. Public Works has been a key partner in that project during the fall and providing value-added services in trenching and utility work for the project, which I believe I don't have a final number for you because it's really hard to quantify, but I'm sure we saved the project a significant amount of money by our participation in that project. So, and the team was very excited to help out with helping that project along. Catherine Denouille mentioned our recycling coordinator. She basically covered all the important topics and the value of our recycling coordinator. Catherine Bruns has been with Public Works for 5 years, and she has provided a tremendous amount of value and leadership in this space. There's background for reasons why she participates so heavily with our Board of Education and other town initiatives, because Public Works is the administrator and the cost center for all things waste and recycling programming for the town of West Hartford. That includes the services provided to the Board of Education. Public Works is that cost center. So we pay particular attention to make sure our partners at the Board of Ed, as well as other town facilities, but obviously the Board of Education, the schools, the cafeterias, generate a lot of waste. And we want to make sure, first and foremost, that we are focused on the material management process of our waste, because if you manage it properly, you'll get the benefits of sustainability, environmental, and other types of resiliency programming in the future, sustainability type initiatives. To just go over our monthly report briefly, again, touched on a few of the highlights for environmental impacts and programs that we have done. Again, a number of these are brought to us by Catherine Bruns, as well as other staff members in Public Works. This committee, again, the former committee pre-elections did approve and push forward to the council the using of our NIP funds, which is the funds the state of Connecticut provides municipalities for the sale of small miniature liquor bottles sold within the West Hartford borders. We are now, those funds are being put to use and in motion, securing and purchasing food waste to drop off containers to expand the program. And we hope to have that expansion completed by the spring. Again, public outreach is ongoing and always happening. Again, Catherine Bruns really can't emphasize her effort behind that, and especially as a part-time employee, it's a tremendous effort that she puts forward in that. We've been one of the first communities in the state of Connecticut to promote and actually put resources behind pumpkin collection and pumpkin waste management. Again, as I mentioned, it starts with proper material management. and pumpkins, can make up a significant amount of tonnage in your waste in October and November. And this year's program, again, grew to be successful and grew again over last year with 16.5 tons of pumpkins collected in the month of November post-Halloween. Again, the public is being very responsive to that effort. We've expanded drop-off locations, but the public does deserve a lot of credit because it's a high-risk drop-off because it's unmonitored, and so you could have contamination, which could ruin the entire load. But our residents are dialed in, they're astute to what needs to be done, and we see relatively little to no contamination in all of our drop-off centers. So really the public deserves credit for paying attention to what's right and following the rules on these drop-off centers. Our leaf collection program is winding down. We'll actually have one full week left. The program ends next Friday on December 19th. Peak month is the month of November for the collection of our leaves, and to date we've collected over 1,500 tons of leaves or leaves that have been dropped off. All these leaves, whether they're picked up at the curb or dropped off at our transfer station, they're basically transferred once again to Quantum Organics, which is in Southington, who do the processing and disposal of the leaves. Basically, they make it into an organic waste compost. They actually mix it with food waste to enrich the compost. Leaves and woody vegetation provide the carbon that's needed to go into food waste to make it an enriched compost and market value in the marketplace. So that program again is a strong program. It's well valued. Leaves again, for the benefit of the new people of this committee, leaves are a mandated recycling material by DEEP. We're required to make sure yard waste and leaves do not go into our waste stream. So the program is very valuable and residents respond to it very well. Other programs we do twice a year. We do paper shredding. We had that the end of October. And then we also, because of the government shutdown, the residents not only responded with their paper to shred, they responded with tons of food that we delivered and just threw into the town hall wherever there was space. I'm sure you've been to town hall lately. You can see where the food has been stacked and stored. With that program definitely participated with that. Again, through this committee, as we've reported in the past, we have upgraded all of our EVSE stations, our electric charging stations. It's the equipment that we provide the public to charge electric vehicles. We've transitioned to a fee-based system per the council resolution, and then you see the first months of data coming in on that. So it's performing, again, because it's a very new program for us. It's a new business for us. We're still too early to determine whether we're cost recoverable or not, but we'll continue to watch it, monitor the incoming revenues, match it with utility bills, and again, the goal is to be cost recoverable in this program. The assistant fee, just to avoid if any questions, the $7.50. That fee is applied to new customers to the Flow electric charging station. It's not a fee that we collect. It goes directly to Flow, and it helps new customers with assistance with using their app and plugging in their car. But it's a relationship between Flow, but it just shows up on our transaction report. But it's not a fee that the town collects. That fee directly goes to the administrators of the charging station that is supported by Flow, which is the manufacturer of our charging stations. Again, through this committee, a couple months ago, we streamlined our yard waste collection permit process. It was a problem of Public Works, and we've been working diligently to find a solution. We think we've landed on a sensible solution to allow for more online and mail service applications. And we think it's going well. Our complaints in that space have gone down drastically, so we think we might have gotten the program correct. We're in December, so we're actually, call it the baker's dozen. We're now selling permits for 2026, even though we're still in 25. So they basically get 13 months on a permit if you buy it in December. And more than half of our permits are showing up through the new process of coming through online. So there's limiting the need to come down to Public Works itself to pick up your permit. So we're very excited that that program's sticking and working well for the community. Again, for new council members, municipal parking is a division of Public Works. Again, we maintain, operate, and perform the municipal parking operation in West Hartford Center, Blueback Square. That includes the parking garages. This monthly reports on the fiscal performance. Again, all the data is there. It's a lot of data. Overall, we're down as a comparable quarter to last year, 11%. That's due to the construction, due to freezes, or I should say temporarily not enforcing during some paving operations. But it's obviously reflected in the overall financial performance of our parking operation. Our restoration and modernization projects of the garages are underway. The concrete restoration work that is happening on the garages, and the garages are now approaching 20 years, so this is lifespan maintenance type activities that are occurring in the garages. We're in winter shutdown on the concrete restoration, but we're on schedule for what we've completed so far. And beginning on Monday, we'll start on the equipment side. We'll start the preparation and modernizing the elevators. Again, these elevators and escalators have been in service for the better part of 20 years, so they've had a lot of activity, high mileage in a lot of ways, to kind of just describe it a little bit. And so they're needed for just a life cycle modernization and update. And those projects are underway. But even though the elevators in the Memorial Garage specifically will be out of service while it's getting its modernization, we don't anticipate any effects on ADA accessibility, as we're taking steps to provide additional ADA accessible parking spaces and other decks to avoid the use of the garage. We're also adding temporary ADA spaces on street in front of the medical building on Memorial Road. Again, all effort to accommodate our client, which is the owners of Blueback Square and the leasers of their properties. But it is a necessary project that is underway. On our fleet division, again, we've this time of the year is when purchases of equipment start coming in. I'd like to say this is equipment we bought with capital money we have for July 1st, but this is actually capital equipment that we most likely purchased from last July, 2024. I mean, because the lead time on this type of equipment can be as much as 12 to 18 months. And so we are actually seeing some of this equipment starting to come in. It's been coming over the last 6 weeks. So we're excited about that. New equipment's always good. The 4 pieces that are highlighted, one being a crane truck. This crane truck will give us greater capabilities of picking up heavy materials, be it a pole knockdown from a motor vehicle accident. It will also be deployed in a program that we hope to have launched by the spring, where we're going to use in-ground trash cans at key parks and trail systems, trailheads, where it's a garbage can that goes in the ground 5 feet, 3 feet of trash can on top. So it's a sleeve that'll get pulled out, but it'll give us longevity of waste. So hopefully that eliminates our overflow trash issues. But we also hope it's an efficiency operation where we won't have to go as frequently to these trash cans to dump them. For instance, Vanderbilt Park, nice small pocket park, currently only has a 30-gallon trash can there. We have to go there regularly to empty that trash. We think we'll have to go to empty that trash once a month once these trash cans are deployed to areas such as that. So we're excited about that, but we do need the infrastructure to support that kind of initiative, and this crane truck will provide that for us. The F550 switch and go truck, again, another new advancement in the industry that we're able to move towards. Switch and go means the back part, which is the black portion of that truck in the picture of the report, is switchable. So we can change the use of that truck from a dump truck to a flatbed to a material spreader for snow and ice control. Below that is a 10-wheel version of that. Again, that's for bigger, larger type activities. Again, a lot of our work is dealing with heavy weights. Again, still a switch and go. It's, we call it a hook truck, but it still has switch and go capabilities. So we can switch from a material spreader for snow and ice control if we needed it today, but then tomorrow we need a dump truck. It's just a matter of seconds, just switching that body out. Very versatile and very beneficial to the efficiencies of our using our trucks. And then we've got a conventional plow truck that just arrived. That picture doesn't represent the right color, but the truck was in the paint shop, so we couldn't get an accurate picture for the development of this report. And again, just the last page just shows how, Public Works, the town manager mentions us all the time. Public Works is involved with all special events that happen in town, whether it be runs and parades, special events, Celebrate West Hartford, the holiday stroll. We're as involved with those planning and involved with implementing and supporting those events as any other department in the town. And it just shows an example of our activities over the last month and that participation, both on infrastructure, waste management, closing areas for public safety, as well as security of those locations as well, where in modern times, Public Works has now become a part of the security team for these events and providing infrastructure for that security. So I'll be happy to take any questions based on the report and any comments or anything that you want to discuss Public Works related.
Thank you, John. Any questions from committee members? The chair recognizes Councilor Lyons. Did you have a question? Looked like your hand was raised.
It was, and I realized I'm not a committee member, so I wanted to yield to the committee members first, Madam Chair.
The chair recognizes Deb Poland. Councilor Poland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. More of a comment than a question. Just a thank you to Bob and John and Catherine, because sitting through this committee meeting, you really get a full scope idea of all of the different projects that are going on in our town all the time, from one end of the town to the other, whether it's building projects, or demolition projects, energy efficiency projects, renovation projects. You guys are just handling a lot and doing it really professionally. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Poland. The chair recognizes Councilor Lyons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Phillips, thanks for the report, or through you, Madam Chair, excuse me. Mr. Phillips, thank you so much for the report. Two quick questions. Number one, we switched to All-American Waste, I can remember it was 6 or 9 months ago, but how are they doing?
Yes, we did switch to All-American Waste. So a business transaction occurred back in January 2025. So it's been all of 12 months now. We're in December. Time flies. Sorry. So it was just a typical business merger, if you would. Payne sold their operations to All-American Waste, or USA Waste and Recycling. So they are a new vendor. They're still a Connecticut-owned company, right? Still. But they are certainly much larger than Payne's. They're a good company to work for. They're responsive, but they are different, right? They service many communities, both on commercial and residential side. They certainly have more capabilities, more resources than Payne's had. So we're certainly having bigger discussions on resource availabilities and capabilities, and they've been able to meet, what I call trade term, sorry, but answer the bell whenever we call. We still do go through some. We're probably having a little bump in customer service type stuff, related stuff. Again, new drivers, different route optimization, maybe software, right? Each company's got their own kind of proprietary systems they use for route optimization. So we've had a small uptick in maybe misses, if you would, but we've addressed those as quickly as possibly when they do come up. We hope that will, as time goes on, even though it's been 12 months, it seems like a long time, but again, that industry has a high turnover rate in employee turnovers, and that's historically in that industry. And some of our roads, to be bluntly honest or authentic, some of our roads are hidden and tough to see. You don't realize it's a road until you drive down it sometimes, and so those are the type of roads that get skipped. But again, I think we're being very responsive that we can. Some of the agita from residents, they'll call us directly, but we're not the hauler, right? So it delays sometimes the response, because all that means is the Public Works now has to call USA to get action, and that lengthens, puts a more longer lead time on a response. And typically most of these calls don't happen till late in the day when the job is done. And so your trash or your cycling, if it were to be skipped, just give an example, it won't get collected to the next day. And obviously that sometimes is not satisfactory to the complainant. But, that's just the nature of the business, unfortunately.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. And one more question, really a comment for you, sir, on the electric car charging. I can't tell you how happy I as an electric car owner, we own 3 electric cars. I can't tell you how happy I was to see the system change to where the town is no longer paying for it, that the actual consumers are paying for it. You accomplish 2 things, one being the obvious savings to the town, but the second thing is I'm at town hall a lot and have been for several years because of various, being on zoning and that sort of thing and attending various meetings. It's nice to not see the same 2 or 3 cars parked there, seemingly 24/7. For those who don't know, if you sit your car there more than 2 hours, they hit you at the rate of, I think it's $10 per hour. And that has really been a game changer for availability. So really, Mike, thank you. My kudos to you and your team and to the town for doing that for both reasons. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, you're welcome. That's parking manager 101. Encourage turnover, and economics is the one of the best uses of encouragement to turnovers of spaces.
Thank you. Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Wang. I saw your hand up first.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, John. I have several questions, so apologize, but mostly pertaining to parking. Our town budget says that we're projected to lose about $1 million a year on parking operations, but your report suggests we're turning a profit. Why is there a discrepancy? Do you know why there's a discrepancy between what our budget projects and what this document projects?
Okay, well, I certainly don't want to encourage the word use of a profit. It's not a profit; it's just a net. It's a net revenue. So our report is basically just on sheer public works operations of the facility. On the higher end, the debt service comes out of finance department, so it's a combination of both of those financial reportings. So what we're projecting is on a month-to-month basis. So I don't have the direct answer, but I can certainly, I'm jotting it down. I can certainly follow up with that with a more specific answer to your question, but I'll need the support of our finance department, who manages the larger scope of the entire parking operation. Public Works just manages the day-to-day expenses and revenue collection of the operation itself. But there's
Okay,
other
yeah.
expenses tied to it.
That would be
Debt
really helpful.
service, the taxes, or the special development tax that's leaned on that property. All those things come into that equation, if you would.
Yeah, that would be really helpful to know. Thank you. This report notes what I've noticed for a while now, which is that we haven't raised our parking rates, and you said it yourself that economics are what drives turnover, and the economics of parking matters a lot. Even the Stantec report suggested that we really need to be considering dynamic parking pricing and differential parking pricing, meaning those very highly valuable, high demand street parking spaces really should be charged at a higher rate, which the economics would encourage turnover, so the businesses see more new customers. It would encourage less circling for parking spaces, because if we make the street spaces more expensive than the garage spaces, the bulk of your customers are going to just go straight to the garage if they know they can save, maybe a good chunk of change during their stay. And then people are more, people who are willing to pay a little bit more can take those street spaces. So I guess my question is, when is it appropriate for us? Is it appropriate now for us to consider adjusting those parking rates and looking at dynamic pricing and looking at differential pricing? Again, as you alluded to better fit the economics of the situation, and we know that if we can reduce circling, we also dramatically reduce congestion.
Councilor Wang, your comments are spot on the economics of parking management. We parking operations, certainly in my experience in parking operations for the past 20 plus years, what I hear from you is I've learned over those decades. At the end of the day, that parking rates is a council decision. Certainly, we would be assisting the councilors in that decision-making process as the primary administrators through the town manager's office we're led with, and assisting with recommendations on our parking operations and where we move in the future. But at the end of the day, the council does set the rates, and we'll be happy to have those discussions should it be warranted or asked for of Public Works.
Does our current vendor, can they accommodate dynamic pricing?
Current vendor, pardon me, I'm not sure I understand the question. Current vendor.
Oh, like the company that processes our parking payments?
Oh, yes. I mean, certainly we'll take some configuration. It'll take some modeling. We'll certainly, we're both myself when I ran parking before I became director of public works, Brooke Nelson when she was there. Now she's our business operations manager for public works. But now Michael Kiffart, who now runs parking, we would insist on beta testing to make sure everything's running accurately to any new rate structure. But it would be capable. We would just have to test it, configure it. The vendor is just a middle person. It'd be based on council approval, council policy. We would build a rate structure that could be delivered through the payment systems and payment apps that we use. It may or may not require additional equipment, especially when you get into dynamic pricing, because you're talking about variables. And there has to be something to read and identify when that variable is kicking in or not, whether it's car counting or not car counting. I caution you, we're not that big of a parking operation comparable to the cost of that type of technology. For instance, airport operations, large hotel operations. When you're talking about multi-millions, if not hundreds of $millions of revenues that come in to those operations and parking, we're very, very tiny in that grand scheme of things. So that's a lot of times when we look at that equipment, it does become a little bit cost prohibitive to go too deep in that dynamic parking models. Again, as a believer and somebody who's been through many workshops and classes taught by philosophy of the Donald Swoop model, which is the high price of free parking. We're astute to what needs to happen, what should happen, and what we're able to accomplish.
I understand it's a council responsibility. So what would we need to do should we put that on a future meeting, for example? Because I would be very interested to have this conversation more about dynamic pricing and differential pricing, meaning just differentiating the price of street parking to the garages.
Well, timing being what it is, we are just starting. We're doing our CIP and CNRE budgeting projections right now. Our next phase is getting into the FY27 budget preparation process. So myself, through Rick Ledwith, are already starting to strategize and have those discussions on our approaches to building the budget for the next season.
Okay.
Sorry. So as your administrator, so to be more clear, I'm just an administrator working for Rick. It will certainly be by his leadership. Public Works and Municipal Parking will participate.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. I think it's something I would personally love to look into more and look at the economics of our parking setup. I'm sorry, I do have two more questions. I know I apologize for monopolizing. If it's okay with Madam Chair, Lazarus.
Yes, I think Rick may have had a comment or something to
Rick.
add.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to follow up on that conversation just for a moment. And John's absolutely correct. I've been working with John very closely. John's been coming to me with some great ideas for quite some time now, addressing exactly the strategy that Councilor Wang is discussing. We've had conversations with the mayor as well. And our last conversation was just prior to the election, and we were waiting to get the new council on board before kind of moving some kind of policy discussions forward. So through you, Madam Chair, certainly we'll follow your lead, but we can come forward to this committee, even prior to the budget, if it were your wish, but certainly can include some strategy pricing in the upcoming budget, as John had indicated as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. That would be great. Sorry, Councilor Wayne, you can continue. You had two more questions.
Oh, yes. What's the future of these Blueback Square parking garages? Are there creative ways we can increase utilization? Because when I go in them, they're so empty. Am I going at the wrong times? Like, for example, on the weekends, top 3 floors are often empty. Are there creative ways to increase utilization so we get more out of our investment?
Councilor Wang, it's actually a great question. And when it comes to that, that's an optic that you're describing. From the perspective of municipal parking, we appreciate the availability of space. We We have experienced a very robust parking operation since we launched the garages back in 2006, really gone full live in 2007. They were constructed in 2006. We experience a high turnover rate, which is a great thing, right? Cars are coming and going, making their appointments, doing their shopping, dining. We have a very robust balance between medium to long-term parking and to even short-term parking in our garages, especially in the Blueback Square area, right footprint or the boundaries of Blueback Square. There's very limited on-street parking, so the garages do service even those short-term parkers that need to go in. They're only doing half-hour appointments, 45-minute stays, in and out type of parking. So because we have a high turnover rate, it can lead to an optic of the garages are never fully utilized. The garages are built to support the entire business district of Blueback Square. So unlike a garage dedicated for one purpose use building, a business building, or a high use office building per se, where you would see more long-term parking because the employees are working and they're parking and they're there a long time. The Memorial Garage, our occupancy rate, do the great work by our current owners, Brand Street, of occupying the spaces and reusing the spaces. We're seeing a lot more longer term parking in the Memorial Garage. We're seeing higher capacities on a day-to-day basis, but that does transition at night. So if you were to go in there at 6 o'clock in the evening, you would see it downtick because most of the business offices are no longer functioning. They're closed for the day. And so we're really reliant on just the business. The Ice Cream Garage, direct opposite. If you were to go there midday, outside of our longer term parking that services our public libraries and other smaller areas, that really is a high turnover, high transient parking garage for doing lunches and quick stops, quick stays. But at night, the length of stay increases because your length of stay for dining increases, right? You're waiting for your table, you're enjoying your time, maybe doing a little shopping, whatever's available after your dining experience. So there's a longer stay in the ice cream garage, so we tend to see an uptick in its occupancy. So it's really optics based on time of day, seasonal, and even day of the week on really the health of the garages. But again, from the municipal parking operations perspective, having space available is a good thing. It means we have availability to push more cars there through your very own comments, through economic pricing, moving more people off the on-street space, keeping that opportunity to have an on-street space for those who really desire it the most, your front row concert ticket seat, if you would, the most desired space, and pushing more cars into garages for that midterm, long-term parking need. So it really comes down to optics. It really does, because we can go around. I can show you when the garage is near capacity, especially this time of year, because there are increased shopping, more activities going on. Again, you see the same thing in the mall, right? The majority of the mall parking lot in the spring, summer, and fall is vacant, except for the closest spaces to the doors. But this time of year, as driving by it today, coming back to work, the lot is virtually at capacity. And personally, I use the garage at the West Farms Mall. Those garages are very underutilized, except for this time of year, right? And so it's the same kind of thing. Just it's all really comes down to optics and the actual time you're there, and understanding the businesses that we're there to support, what those garages are there to support overall. I hope that
Yeah.
helps and answers your question.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I mean, I think I understand that you don't want people to be hunting for spaces and feel that there's no availability for space. Um, it's a big the garages are a big economic investment on the part of the taxpayer, and on top of that, the Blueback Special Services District, those folks are paying into that Special Services District in large part to support the garages, is my understanding. So that, of course, translates into those condo fees, higher rents. So I would just love if there's any way we could be creative to use more of that garage space that the taxpayers paid for. That would just be amazing. I know it's more than is beyond this. I don't want to turn this into a huge discussion right now, but the top fourth and fifth floors, a lot of times I stop by it, it's they're pretty barren. But I'll try to stop by during the weekdays as well.
Yep. So also keep in mind the garages themselves, they serve as a purpose of public parking. We can be as creative as the private sector's ability to build out spaces and creativity in their space, their use of spaces that generate people to come into the area. We're confident we have the spaces. For instance, we use the garages to accommodate the Del Mar valet parking program that they have. So all their valet comes into our parking garages, and it's a great relationship since Del Mar opened up. We also have
Oh
a
yeah, that's
relationship
awesome.
with the Byline apartment buildings. They needed support in their parking operations, so their overflow from their property would come into the garages directly for monthly parking permits, increasing the use on a long-term basis. So we're
I love it. Yeah,
constantly
that's
looking for
great.
that creativity. But you're right, it
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
much longer discussion.
Thank
right.
you. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Thank you, Counselor Wang. Do we have other questions? Catherine Devine, I see that your hand is up, or do you have a question?
Thank you. I had one comment that I just wanted to throw out there before we, as we were having a discussion about parking and pricing. I feel an obligation on behalf of the Sustainability Commission and as the energy specialist to say that any discussion of parking and rates, I would hope that we're thinking of the broader application as we're driving people in their cars to parking spaces, of the opposite of how are we incentivizing people to get out of their cars and walk and use other modes of transportation and build out those other options in our town as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions?
I do have one more,
And
but
so,
I don't know
oh,
if you want to tolerate it, Madam Chair.
well, is it a short, quick question? If it can be
It's
short
not
and quick,
about parking,
wise
I
you can,
promise.
it's not. Sure, go ahead, ask your question.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, we don't hear a lot in town leadership from folks who live in the Hillcrest neighborhood, the Hillcrest Avenue, whatever, that kind of southeast corner of town. So I went down there just yesterday to peek around, and there's a lot of garbage on what appears to be town land. It's like the area directly adjacent to the Piper Brook. And also, I noticed that the physical condition in that part of town is maybe not up to the same standard as we see in the rest of town. So, for example, like very rusty chain link fence in front of the Piper Brook. Is there any possibility of like some cleanup and very low tree cover as well? Very little tree cover down there. Is there any possibility of trying to clean up that neighborhood? Especially there really was a lot of trash, as well as maybe beautifying and replacing some of the aging infrastructure in that neighborhood.
To start with the last part of your question, so aging infrastructure would be coming out, would be the sole responsibility of our community planning development committee and the team there. They're tasked with doing all capital improvements throughout the town. Public Works' chartered task is maintenance. So in theory, they build it, we maintain it, right? We're the legacy. We maintain the legacy maintenance of the infrastructure we build. But your comments are well noted. Litter. We do litter patrols everywhere. We recently had to add, and we bought equipment to address litter. The equipment's not very advantageous, the mad vacs in this type of cold weather, and so the litter can stack up quickly and collect quickly, especially in days like today with the wind. It's a lack of a better analogy. It's a cat and mouse game. Public Works being the cat, the mice being the litter. But we're in this neighborhood. So we see what you described on a regular basis. I would say we put a lot of effort into the New Park Avenue corridor, Hartford Line, Boulevard area, as well as the neighborhood you described. But it is a labor intensive task. But certainly we can continue to look at it and make sure we got to focus on it. Most of the roads in that general area have been repaid, if not sectionally repaid. So road services are in good to excellent condition. We've added speed tables on Hillcrest itself to address that. We plan to have a food waste drop-off location somewhere by the West Hartford housing building that's located on that street. The very property that you're speaking of is actually not the town property. That's private property. Partially MDC owns that, and so all we can do is reach out to them to ask for better resources and better commitment to what you've described. Certainly, we can step in if we have to. I sometimes try to be reluctant to do anybody else's job because you only fund me to do your job we're responsible for, and so I got to be very careful there. But beautification is a concern of mine. I preach it to this previous committee. This committee has supported me in buying the litter equipment to be better at what we do, be more efficient at what we do. And so your notes are well taken, and we'll try to address it.
Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your questions and all your comments. That was very edifying. So moving on, do we have any future agenda items? Would anyone like to propose any future agenda items? And seeing none, I believe there being no further business, this means the meeting can be adjourned. Am I correct?
Make a motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Can I get a second?
Second.
So moved. Meeting is adjourned at 7:51. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate